back to Northeast Nostalgic. Whoever said the North is grim definitely hasn't been to the northeast coast on a bright January morning. Today I'm taking you on one of my favourite walks from Whitburn to Souter Lighthouse, and of course sprinkling in a little bit of history here and there. I parked at the Whitburn Bents car park with the Little Manchella coffee shop, but I have done this walk before from Seaburn Recreational Ground if you want to stretch your legs even more. And just to note, you'll want some really good hiking boots or trainers to do this route, as it did get progressively clarty along the cliff tops, with my nice leather boots being caked in clarts once I'd done the route in reverse to go home. We're currently walking with some beautiful houses and Whitburn School to our left, and the view of the sea and the sunrise to the right. This path always feels like stepping back in time and being at one with nature. I love the walk from Roker to Seaburn, but it can feel very peoply, so this is a nice option for more countryside. Whitburn and this stretch of the South Tyneside coast has some surprising history, from a disappearing village to World War coastal defences. And if you keep on going, you'll end up in South Shields and beyond, with even more history. Whitburn itself is a village with evidence going back to the Bronze Age, and was located within an important area for early European learning and culture, being situated between the monasteries of Jarrow and Monk Wearmouth. Whitburn village is to the west of the coast road where we're walking on now, and was a largely agricultural and fishing community, until increased industrialisation made the population boom, with wealthy industrialists, coal miners, entrepreneurs and fishermen being amongst the residents. Morning everyone, welcome back to Northeast Nostalgic. Today I'm at Whitburn and we're walking to Souter Lighthouse, and I thought I'd show you some history along the way. There's not as much as sort of the Roker to Seaburn stretch, but still it's an absolutely beautiful day. I thought you'd like to come with me, so let's go. Now, this is something that you don't typically find on a coastal walk. World War I rifle ranges. During the First World War, Whitburn had primary shore and cliff defences to help train those fighting and to prepare for an invasion to the east coastline. The land was purchased from Sir John Sherburne by the Territorial Force Association in 1912, with the camp being occupied by the regular army for the duration of the First World War. There were 5 firing ranges in total here, one of 40 yards, one of 600 yards, and 3 of 500 yards. As well as the firing ranges, wooden huts were built for a garrison approaching battalion strength. There was also a trench system dug using a characteristic Greek key pattern of firing bays and communication trenches. Did you know that the stretch of coastline from Sunderland to Whitburn was established by the 3rd Battalion of the Cheshire Regiment, whilst the Whitburn to Tyne stretch was established by the 3rd Battalion of the Durham Light Infantry? I think this historic gem is the one that once you notice these huge mounds of earth, you'll be able to recall to your friends and family with that little fact. I had always wondered what they were, and it's fascinating to know. Here is where it started to get clarty and hard to walk on the path. It's a pretty good path in dry weather, but as it has been snowy recently, it was a bit boggy and was sticking to my shoes, so apologies for any camera wobbles. I was trying to avoid any puddles. This beach is known as Jackie's Beach. I'm not sure who Jackie is, or who she was, or he was, but it's a lovely quiet beach full of a range of habitats for nature, and has a stone circle amongst the sand. The stone circle originally had a maze and was believed to have been created by Sean Hesser, with the circle's name Finn's Labyrinth being in memory of Sean's dog. People have been encouraged to add their stones to the memorial, but it seems to have changed since the last time I saw it. Maybe the winter storms have destroyed the original stone circle and it's starting up again. This part of the walk always reminds me of the checkpoints in Dad's Army or old war films, but it's a hide within the Whitburn Point Local Nature Reserve and is used by the Durham Bird Club and other interested members for watching seabirds and mammals. There's some beautiful views of the rock formations down on the coastline, and I'm constantly stopping to take photographs. We're so lucky to have things like this right on our doorstep. Just a few steps to go and we get our first glimpse of Souter Lighthouse. The lighthouse is so big that it looks like we're almost very much there, but we still have a few winding paths to go first. Did you know that the Whitburn Steel Cliffs were thought to have helped to deter the Germans during World War II? The cliffs here are thought to be magnetic and interfered with German bomber compasses as they flew over the coast. Whilst this coastline is so quiet and serene now, it was a different story during World War II. The northeast coastline was targeted by German bombers, with Whitburn and the surrounding areas being caught in the middle of the Tyneside industries and the Wearside collieries and shipbuilding yards. On the 9th of August 1940, Whitburn was used to air raid sirens and the need to get into shelters quickly, but perhaps they weren't used to being so close to the enemy. Heinkel He 111HE crashed into the sea after dropping bombs on Sunderland and was attacked by the yellow section of the No. 7 Squadron RAF fighters, with 2 men clambering out of the huge metal body before it sunk below the waves. The German airmen all survived and were rescued from the water and were taken back to Sunderland by boat. Cottages at Whitburn Bents were also badly damaged during heavy bombing in the same year, but Whitburn had some wartime defences that were used to confuse the enemy. A bombing decoy known as a starfish site was built at Wellends Farm, designed to look like a city on fire in order to confuse the bombers travelling to the Tyne and Sunderland docks that they had already been here. The Observer Corps used Whitburn Windmill as an observation post to warn of oncoming enemies at sea, whilst a heavy anti-aircraft battery was installed at Lizard Lane. This unassuming patch of grass next to the lighthouse is actually the site of the old colliery mining village of Marsden village. The village began its short life in around 1874 to provide homes for the miners working in the nearby coal seam at the nearby Whitburn colliery. In total, there was 135 houses on 9 streets, with a population of around 600 people. Charles Street is now part of the present-day Coast Road between South Shields and Sunderland, with drivers unknowing of the history that they're driving on each and every day. The village was a bustling little neighbourhood with a church, Methodist chapel, co-op store, miners' institute, post office and a school. In the 1950s, erosion had damaged the cliffs, pushing Marsden village closer to being plunged into the depths of the North Sea. With the closure of Whitburn Colliery in 1968, it marked the end of village life here, with people moving into new houses in Whitburn and the surrounding areas. The entire village was demolished in the late 1960s to 70s, with the site being levelled with virtually no sign of what was there before. Occasionally, the odd crop mark reveals the site of a demolished building through the grass, and the gates of the school can still be seen next to the lighthouse. Souter Lighthouse is such a recognisable site on the coast road towards South Shields and was a marvel of its age when it opened in 1871. Unlike most lighthouses at the time, which were powered by gas and oil lamps, Souter was the first lighthouse in the UK to be designed and built to be powered by electricity. The intensity of the light reflecting through specially designed lenses gave it a power equivalent of 700,000 candles. The keepers were paid an extra 2 pennies an hour to compensate for the noise. The lighthouse is not in use today, but is a National Trust attraction open seasonally. When it is open, you can explore the engine room and even climb the 76 steps to the top of the tower to see the views of Tyneside. Along the northeast coast is a haunted lighthouse that you can actually stay in. Souter Lighthouse is a Victorian feat of engineering, being the first lighthouse in the world to be actually designed and built specifically to use alternating electric current. Perched upon the rugged cliffs at Marsden, Souter Lighthouse has a history of weird goings-on and haunted activities. People claim to have seen the ghost of Isabel, Grace Darling's niece, who lived at Souter in 1881. She apparently kept a vigil for a quarter of a century here, watching the ships passing the treacherous Whitburn coast. At the end of the kitchen corridor, the lighthouse keeper was said to have appeared, leaving a tobacco scent in the air with no trace of him to be found. There's also reports of temperatures dropping and cutlery floating in mid-air. If you dare, you can even stay in the cottages at the lighthouse. Follow me for more weird and wonderful goings-on in northeast England. If you continue further along the coastline, it'll take you to Marsden Grotto and the Lees. This particular spot is popular for Northern Lights hunters due to minimal street lighting, and it's where I captured the aurora last May. The view of the lighthouse from the road is my favourite. I love how the white painted walls frame the lighthouse with symmetrical shapes, and I love the cobblestones that lead down to the bottom as well. I'd love to film a YouTube video of the inside of Souter Lighthouse, as it's a beautiful building full of historic finds and stories. You might remember that I said there was remnants of the old school gates for the Marsden village, and they're just on the wall up here opposite Marsden Quarry. They don't have any markings for girls or boys or any other references to the school, but they are definitely the gate and fences as shown in one of the old photographs. This is the old school gate with the narrow opening still in place like it would have been over 100 years ago. The only surviving piece of the old Marsden village, apart from Souter Lighthouse of course. From this point you can continue walking to the Souter Lighthouse car park, following the path towards the sea until it takes you back onto the coastal path that we walked to come here. It usually takes me about an hour each way to walk this route, depending on how many times I stop to take photos and videos and how claggy the ground is. I'd love to know what videos you'd like to see from me in 2025. I love mixing it up and coming up with things, but it's always nice to know what you want to see on your screens. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you soon.